Welcome back to the Choice Morning Answer with John Anthony. Now, Vince, you wanted to read off something there for Gene real quick.
Yeah, Gene, we were talking about that coffee club. The Oakland County Party offices are at 42611 Woodward Avenue, Bloomfield Hills. And our phone number there is 248-499-7288. And, of course, you can always get a hold of us at www.oaklandgop.org. Now, the coffee club has been paused for this year because we're going to shut down. But first of the year, come on back and let's drink some coffee and complain about politics.
All right. Now, before we go to our guest, Mike's on the line. Mike, go ahead. Mike, you there?
Oh, there you are.
There you go. What's up,
It was
brother?
just wonderful to hear that Oakland has a GOP section that they can go ahead and people can actually get to, because it was like you said, nobody heard of it. And, that's part of, like, a lot of the stuff you hear, like, John, you were talking about PSYOPs. There's a lot of things we don't hear that's truthful, and that's the tough part. And just like how things are hidden, like we can go search online, things get buried badly, and we need to always keep on trying to put our own people out front. And it's just like how we've been able to go ahead and get back into the social media platforms. How many people, yourself, were kicked out?
Yeah.
And now we've had to claw our way back just to be recognized.
So true.
Something has to be done to help to recognize all the other available outlets like this gentleman has put together, especially having a coffee house to be able to have people come on over. That's what I miss back in the old day. The old people that used to show up at the McDonald's and sit in there and just gripe and complain. Now, you can't even barely go into the McDonald's anymore.
Yeah. Or that old restaurant on the corner somewhere like they still do in Yorkville. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the call, man.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.
I wanted to talk about a subject that just doesn't get talked about enough. How most families, they believe they will know when it's time to step in and help an aging parent. They think the signs will be, obvious, the decisions will be straightforward, and love will somehow be enough to carry them through. The reality is far different, people. Senior care in America is confusing, fragmented, emotionally charged, and is often navigated for the first time in the middle of a crisis. Families are forced to make life-altering decisions while they're overwhelmed, grieving, and afraid of just doing the wrong thing. Many people do not realize it until it's late that the system is not designed to guide them. It is designed to process them. My guest today has spent more than 3 decades inside nearly every corner of that system. She has seen what works, what fails, and where families get misled or left behind. She understands dementia not as a diagnosis, but as a daily lived reality for patients and families. She understands end-of-life care not as surrender, but as dignity. Most importantly, she understands that families need an advocate long before they think they do. Jennifer Vince is the founder and CEO of Senior Care Navigations. She helps families make informed decisions, avoid unnecessary trauma, and protect their loved ones during some of the most difficult moments they will ever face. Today's conversation is not just about facilities or paperwork. This is a conversation about clarity, preparation, and doing right by the people who once did everything for us. Jennifer, welcome to Detroit's Morning Answer.
John, thank you so much for having me, and it's great to hear your voice again.
Yes. So what I'll do is I'll have Paul add the beautiful opening monologue and bio read of you, and then we'll splice it over on this interview. Is that okay with you, Jennifer?
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Now, Jennifer, you've spent over 3 decades across nearly every setting in geriatric care, from acute care, hospitals to hospice, and memory care. When families hear the phrase senior care navigation, what do they usually think it means, and how is that understanding often dangerously incomplete?
I think one of the big challenges is people don't know, John, because the field that I'm in, aging in place, senior navigation, geriatric care management, there's lots of names for us, is fairly new. Because if you take all of human history until about the late 1980s, aging was very cut and dry. There were only a few options for seniors. Fast forward 40 years to where we are now, and families don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, our systems are still set up for these basic things the way they were 40 years ago, but that's not how life is. So when I go talk to families, a lot of times they don't know what to expect. They just said, oh, my neighbor used you, or my financial advisor recommended that I talk to you. They don't realize all the things I'm going to go through to try to help them. And you hit the nail on the head. Prepare, prevent what's going to happen. Because if we're all lucky enough to age, our check engine lights go on our bodies.
Yes, yes.
And life happens. And the best thing we can do, just so the same way we do for our kids when they, grow up, we don't wait till high school graduation and say, well, now what are you going to do? We plan, we discuss, we talk about options. We have to do the same things for every aspect of aging.
Now,
I
Jennifer,
tell people, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say from grab bars to making sure their house is safe, to make sure they're legally protected, to make sure medically their views are known, to make sure they know who they want to work with for care partners, because not all care partners are created equally.
Now, you talk about unnecessary trauma. What are the biggest myths families believe about, let's say, assisted living, memory care, and home care that you think lead to poor decisions or that unnecessary trauma?
Well, what happens, and I've seen this over and over again in my 30-plus years, is no one talked about anything. Mom falls. She goes to the hospital. They do the surgery or set a pin or whatever they do. And the social worker at the hospital says, well, we're discharging Mom tomorrow, and she either has to go to assisted living or go home with 24-hour care. And basically the discharge planner looks at her watch and says, go. You have a day and a half to make this life-changing decision. There is no one size fits all, whether it's in-home care or assisted care or independent living, memory care. There's so many options, but you have to plan for it in advance. I'll take assisted living. That popped up. I opened the first licensed assisted living about 25 years ago in Chicago, and no one knew what that was.
Right.
And today there are assisted living companies all over the place. I laugh. They're like Walgreens. They're everywhere. But you have to know what you can afford, what you want, what kind of care you need, what kind of amenities you want, and is that setting right for you? It is for some people. It's not for other people. But you have to plan when there's not the crisis.
Yeah. Now, Jennifer, you operate in both Michigan and Illinois. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because I've seen the heartbreak. When I was a police officer, I respond to these homes where these seniors were pretty much left to fend on their own. They had their kids basically gave up on them, or they had no kids, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because because I want you to talk about what it is that those who are listening. How do you help families evaluate care options beyond the, when you think about this field, because people are trying to get the money, but how do you help families evaluate these care options beyond these glossy brochures and sales tours to understand the true quality of care?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing my team and I do, and I've got an amazing team both in the Detroit area and in Chicago, is we go in and we do a really comprehensive assessment. Again, it's a very technical term. I say we talk about all the things. And we figure out what they want. That's the most important thing. Seniors have the right to drive their own decision-making. It should not be made by strangers or kids that see them once a year that live out in California. It should be driven by them. But you have to figure out, again, all the things. What do they want? What is important to them? What they can afford? Then we sit down and we talk about all our options. I'll tell everybody, anyone can age in place in their home. Anyone. Comes down to resources. Now, everyone doesn't have all the resources to put in chair lifts and, knock out walls, to modify bathrooms so you can, roll in a wheelchair, modify kitchens. All that costs a lot of money. So maybe home's not the right place. So we tease it out, John. We start, kind of broad scope, and then we figure out really what makes sense for that person. I know the industry. We tour the buildings. We figure out, and I'm not paid by the buildings. There are companies out there that work that way, and that's an awesome model. That is not how I work. I get paid by my clients, because that way I can be a little more critical of what's going on.
That's why I love it.
Yeah, and really honest. And there are some great buildings out there, just like there are great home cares out there. But I always say the good and the bad things about major cities like Detroit and Chicago is we have 800 of everything. The bad news is we have 800 of everything. And you don't always want to work with a lot of those companies. And you need that support person, that person who is in the field day in and day out that says, these are some companies I recommend. Now, I never tell a senior who they will work with. I give them two options. They can always pick, a third option if they want to. It's their decision. But they know that if we recommend, say, 2 in-home care companies or 2 assisted living companies, then I know who runs them. I know how they operate. I have their cell phone numbers. I know the deal. So if anything goes wrong, I can help fix it. I kind of joke like we're the support system. We're the easy button. We're the ones who have our fingers on the pulse of anything and everything, because we're in the business of humans. And when you're in that business, things do go wrong. You have someone who can fix it for you. Someone on your
John,
team.
I wanted to add something to that it's never too early to start thinking about this, because, both my parents didn't see the end coming. My dad, we were at the Royal Oak Flea Market, and he said, I'm going to go in and get some tests done tomorrow. And then 8 days later, we were at the funeral home. It was pancreas cancer. He had no clue.
I'm so sorry.
And then my mom, I took her in for an earache, and then the walk-in clinic said, hey, we'll go over to Beaumont. We're going to run some tests real quick. And she wound up staying in the hospital for 6 weeks, and it was over with, and COVID. So, her knitting bag was on the side of the couch. My dad had a coffee cup on his workbench. You have no idea when your last day is. And I remember, how many times have you heard this meme or whatever? It's like, I wish I knew today was the last day for the pickup game at the field in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So true.
No,
so true.
No question. I tell everybody now, not everybody likes to hear this. I'll be very honest. If you have gotten that AARP card in the mail at 50,
I don't like you.
I know. Most people don't. But I'm honest. You need to start thinking about this. And if you're eligible for Medicare, you better figure out who you want to work with. All it does is help you in the end. I have my whole funeral planned out. I have my niche purchased in the columbarium, where I'm going to have my final resting place. I have this all taken care of. So if God forbid something happens to me, there is zero burden on my children. They know the code to the safe. It's all in the safe.
If you're just joining the show, we're talking to Jennifer Vince. She's the founder and chief executive officer of Senior Care Navigation. I just want to just read off. She holds a master's degree in education with an emphasis in geriatrics. She's a certified senior advisor, certified dementia practitioner, certified dementia connection specialist, and a Montessori-based dementia training. I mean, you got it. So people are listening to this conversation. Do you hold workshops? How can someone get involved? And because they're thinking about what you just said, I now have to start thinking about my parent or somebody who's 50 and getting that AARP card saying, well, okay, you got me. How can people get in touch with you? Do you do workshops? How can people learn more?
Yes, we are starting to do some online workshops starting in January. So if you go to my website by January 1st, all that information will be on there. And that's www.seniorcarenavigation.com, and it'll be under upcoming events. The great news is anyone can call me or fill out an online form for free to have a conversation. This is heavy stuff we're talking about. These are people's lives.
It's morbid. You feel like it's morbid in some regards, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the
hard.
things. Yeah.
Well, you
It's
just
hard.
don't think it's here.
Right.
No. But the best thing to do is find a partner that you trust. I tell everybody, you've got to talk to me for free, and there's no charge to talk to me, because before you invite me into your home to have a cup of coffee with me, whether the home is assisted living, independent living, whether you moved in with your daughter, you've been in the home you've lived in for 50 years, it doesn't matter. If you invite me into your home, you have to know me, like me, trust me, because we're going to talk about some heavy stuff so that I can help you. So I will talk to anybody for free. Sign up for my newsletter. You can learn more about what's going on in the world of aging in place.
Give
And
the
if you
information
wanna
one more time.
Sure. My email or my website is www.seniorcarenavigation.com. My phone number for Detroit is 248-834-5155. And I've got a team of geriatric care managers in Detroit that'll help you out. Amazing women with decades of experience in social service and financial planning and elder care law. And I have a team that will help guide the seniors and their families through every step of this process.
Jennifer Vince, founder and chief executive officer of Senior Care Navigation. Thanks so much for joining us here on Detroit's Morning Answer this today.
John, thank you so much for having me.
All right, we got to figure out what we can do together here in Detroit to get this word out even more. That work for you?
I would love that. Let's
All
talk
right.
after the holidays and figure out what we can do for 2026. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. I'm glad you said Merry Christmas, too. Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year.
Thanks so much. Thanks again for having me.
Jennifer Vince, Detroit's Morning Answer. We'll be right back.